Hello and welcome to the Football News Zone, the show you round up all the biggest stories in the beautiful game right now. The European quarterfinals have been on this week, so let's see which have been the biggest stories on the channel. This week we asked whether Andre Onana is the worst Manchester United keeper in the modern era. Brazil has banned a skill move, believe it or not, and also we review Arsenal's incredible victory over Real Madrid in the UEFA Champions League. We look forward to all that and a whole lot more in today's show. Skip to this timestamp you're most interested on if you're viewing on YouTube, and yeah, let's dive in, guys. Wherever there is Manchester United, there is drama, and this time it's actually come from one of their former players, Nemanja Matic. Now, Matic these days is playing for Olympique Lyon over in France. Man United, of course, are playing Lyon this week in the Europa League, and in the pre-game press conference, Matic was asked a question about Andre Onana and some of the things that he's been saying recently, and he's basically said that Onana is one of the worst goalkeepers in the history of Manchester United, which is a very interesting quote, to say the least. Very thought-provoking for sure. It's something I didn't really expect to hear out of him during that press conference. Matic was asked a lot of questions in French and responded in English, and yeah, he didn't really hold back, to be honest with you. He basically said, let me just get the exact quote here. He said, if David De Gea, Peter Schmeichel or Edwin van der Sar said that, I would question myself. But if statistically you are one of the worst goalkeepers in Manchester United's modern history, he needs to show that before he says that. Now, is Andre Onana one of the worst goalkeepers in Manchester United's modern history? Well, it depends how you define modern history, but it's an interesting one, really, because yes, he is absolutely not on the level of Schmeichel, Van der Sar, any of those guys. Absolutely not. But you look at their goalkeepers over the last 20 years or so. Is he a better goalkeeper than the likes of Thomas Kuszczak, the likes of Roy Carroll, Anders Lindegaard? Yeah, I'd probably say he is, or at least on their level, without a doubt. Tim Howard, he went on to have a massive career for the likes of Everton. Honestly, I wouldn't really put him above Tim Howard. Genuinely, very, very underrated Barclays era goalkeeper, in my opinion. No doubt whatsoever. Is he the worst goalkeeper in Manchester United's history? Well, I think that would probably have to go to the blind Venetian himself, Massimo Tai. Kids these days will not remember him, with very good reason. Like I said, he was nicknamed the blind Venetian for a reason. He had an absolute shocker in his very short stint at Manchester United. I think he was the first one that was brought in after Schmeichel, and it's like, oh, he's going to be our guy for the next 10, 20 years or whatever. It just did not work out. But yeah, I mean, Onana really is someone who has to really prove himself as Manchester United's goalkeeper. I don't doubt there's a talented player in there. He seems very good with his feet, which is obviously very important as a modern goalkeeper, but he does drop some clangers in. He really does drop some basic mistakes in. I mean, some of the guys that I mentioned just before, Ben Foster. Did Ben Foster drop as many clangers in? And I didn't really play that much for Man United, but obviously a very successful goalkeeper elsewhere at the likes of Birmingham City and West Bromwich Albion. Watford as well in his career. Fine goalkeeper. Really, really solid in my opinion. Onana really has the potential to do some very spectacular things in a match of football, but he also has the ability to throw the ball in his own net, unfortunately, as well. So, yeah, I would say that, Matic, I don't think he's far off the mark, really. I don't think Onana's terrible. I know that's going to be a controversial opinion, but unfortunately, he really has been the subject of a lot of this kind of pressure, really. And at times, he's made mistakes, and you can't say he does talk a good game. Whenever you hear him in interviews, he very much does talk a good game. I like what he says, but unfortunately at times out there on the pitch he's not performing. But then again, that goes for most of the Manchester United squad as well. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments below. If you want to go check out the press conference actually where Matic said this, I don't normally put up press conferences from players or managers for teams outside of the UK, but I made an exception for this one. So if you head over to Microsoft, go to thefootballchronicle.com, you should be able to find that press conference from Matic in full, courtesy of UEFA. Thanks, guys. Always helping us out with that. Really appreciate that. So, you might have watched the Manchester derby yesterday. You might have fallen asleep in the Manchester derby, in all truth. But something that might have actually passed you by outside of the football being played on the pitch were the less than savoury chants just off of it, aimed at Phil Foden, a local lad for Manchester City, one of only 2 local lads who started the match yesterday. I don't believe there were any Manchester United local lads in their starting 11, but there would have been a fair few on the bench, no doubt. But yeah, less than savoury comments made about him and his immediate family. And Pep Guardiola, the manager of Manchester City, has responded to this. Now, this is, of course, a time where we've seen quite horrible things happening off the pitch. Anybody who's seen my video about James Tarkowski and all the death threats, yes, death threats that were actually sent him and his family's way, you'll know that there's quite a bit of nastiness right now in English football. And again, it has happened not quite to the same extent, I would say, but interesting kind of a reaction to all this. And yeah, bit of a sad state of affairs, but also not really a surprise either, to be completely honest. But let me just go through what's actually happened here. Full article on thefootballchronicle.com as always, and I'll give my thoughts at the end of this too, because yeah, stay classy to the fans that did this, unfortunately. That's kind of the response you have to give, and that's kind of what Phil Foden did as well. But let me just get into what's been said here. Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola has criticised a section of Manchester United supporters for displaying a lack of class by directing derogatory chants about Phil Foden's mother towards the player during the team's 0-0 draw at Old Trafford on Sunday. Foden, a 24-year-old boyhood City fan from nearby Stockport, was one of only 2 local players on the pitch alongside City youngster Nico O'Reilly. Despite his local roots, Foden was subjected to several chants throughout the match, to which he responded by raising a thumbs up gesture to the Manchester United supporters. Guardiola expressed his disappointment with the fans' behaviour, stating, "Lack of class, but it's not United, it's the people, you know. We are so exposed in the screen in the world of football, managers, owners and football players especially. Honestly, I don't understand the mind of people involving the mum of Phil. It's a lack of integrity, class, and they should be ashamed. The goalless draw means that City remain in 5th place in the Premier League table, occupying the final Champions League qualification spot. They sit just 1 point clear of Aston Villa, who are set to visit the Etihad Stadium on the 22nd of April. Meanwhile, 7th place Newcastle, who have played 2 fewer games than City, climb above the reigning champions into 5th place by winning their match against relegation-threatened Leicester on Monday. I said that should be if they win that game. They've not done that yet. I'm recording this on Monday morning. Despite the risk of missing out on Champions League qualification, Guardiola insisted that he is not concerned about the team's prospects. When asked about his thoughts on finishing in the top 5, he responded, "Nothing. All that is important is our next game against Crystal Palace. We will prepare for the upcoming games. There are a few things I'm happy with what I saw, but now we need to achieve the target of qualifying for the Champions League. The next season is next season." But will they be in the Champions League or not? Well, it's not exactly certain at the moment. Still a ways to go. But yeah, the likes of Aston Villa, the likes of Newcastle. I mean, if Aston Villa do go out of the Champions League, they'll be a tougher prospect later in the season. They'll be a team that's a lot more focused on purely the Premier League, although they are in the FA Cup as well. But there's only 2 matches with that remaining at the most for them, as through to the semi-finals now. So yeah, it's just a bit sad. I mean, it's not really a surprise. I imagine this thing does happen a lot. I've heard some pretty dodgy things on the stands in football games over the years. I'm not condoning it by any means. I mean, this time the players actually heard it as well and responded to it on the pitch. I mean, I think that's quite a classy way to respond to not very classy things. I saw a quote, I think it was from Confucius, something like that. You should always react intelligently to unintelligent people. And I think that is what Foden's done here. Not quite on the same level and different kind of thing, very different kind of thing to Dani Alves back in the day, of course. Him being subjected to monkey chants as Barcelona player and also having a banana thrown on the pitch at him. And before he took a corner, he picked up the banana and ate it. I just like those kinds of responses to not very nice people. But yeah, it's not a surprise, but it doesn't make it any better. I guess we'll just kind of move on from it, Do you think these fans should be punished though, guys? Stadium bans, season tickets revoked. I want to hear your thoughts on this. I know a lot of people are going to have some strong thoughts on this at the end of the day, particularly Man City fans. But, you know, as Guardiola has emphasised, it is a very small section of fans that, in truth, are probably not even proper football fans. They're just doing it for the attention. They're just doing it for some kind of reaction. Maybe they were bored at the game because, like I alluded to in the intro, it was a snooze fest. The F1 was crap in the morning. The Manchester Derby was crap in the afternoon. It was anything but a Super Sunday yesterday. It was awful. Brentford against Chelsea was goalless as well. Oh, God. Yeah. Not a good day for sport, really, at all was Sunday. But, hey, good or bad, we'll be here to cover it on thefootballchronicle.com. So you often hear the phrase, the game's gone, when referring to football. Whether it's the fan experience at home or in the stadium, whether it's the way that teams play, whether it's the way that players play, whether it's the rules of the game. There's all kinds of reasons to think that the game is very much gone. Now, when it comes to lauding the past of football, skillful players, certain skill moves that players do use during matches does excite the crowd, whether it's a nutmeg, a Cruyff turn, or something in between. I mean, my personal favourite player of all time probably either has to be Lionel Messi or Ronaldinho back in the day. In fact, I'm wearing an AC Milan kit from when Ronaldinho used to be a player. But the Brazilian Football Association has very much not helped the reputation of the whole game is gone argument, because they have banned a certain skill move from being used. Now, high-profile players over in the Brasileiro, the Brazilian top flight, such as Neymar Jr. and, of course, Memphis Depay, who's playing over in Brazil these days as well, they are absolutely fuming at this decision. But what is this skill move that has been banned? Is it the correct decision to ban it? Let's get into this article, guys. Shout out to ESPN Australia for covering this story. Neymar and Memphis Depay are among the stars to criticise the Brazilian FA and their new rule to punish players that stand on the ball with both feet. The CBF, the Confederation Brazilian Football, noted that all clubs of the domestic league that from now on, that players who do so will be shown a yellow card, while the opposing team will be awarded an indirect free kick. Neymar and Memphis Depay are among the stars to criticise the Brazilian Football Confederation's CBF new rule to punish players that stand on the ball with both feet. The CBF notified all clubs of the domestic league that from now on, players who do so will be shown a yellow card, while the opposing team will be awarded an indirect free kick. According to the CBF's letter, the act of standing on the ball, in addition to the player risking injury, generates widespread disruptions in games, is considered a provocation to a rival, and disrespects the game. Football is getting more and more boring, Santos's captain Neymar wrote on Instagram. Corinthians star Memphis Depay also said that there are more important things that referees should be focusing on than whether a player is standing on a ball. Depay recently did that action, and it provoked Palmeiras players during the Campeonato Paulista final, which his team won. The Netherlands international said after Saturday's 3-0 league win against Vasco da Gama, "I don't know what the VAR did, but in the first half they should have checked it was a clear foul for a red card. But instead they prefer to create rules here in Brazil, like not being able to get on the ball. What are we talking about?" If we carry on like this, those who decide things in football are doing the wrong things. I want to be clear about this. Brazil is a country where we play football. You don't just play football with your feet, you also play with your head. They have to do a better job. I mean, I'm with them on this. I mean, honestly, I haven't seen players do that. I mean, that's quite impressive to put both their feet on the ball and just kind of balance. I think that's quite a skillful act, to be honest, to be able to do that and not fall over. I'd fall flat on my rear end or on my face doing that, to be honest. But that is why they are professionals, and that's why I talk about it instead of playing it. But yeah, I mean, this is the country that made football beautiful. This is Joga Bonito's home, the beautiful game's home. I mean, England may have invented and codified football, in the modern form at least. I know the Romans and the Greek Empire aficionados would be like, no, we invented it back in the day. Yeah, sure you did. But, you know, England codified it and made it into professional football. But why are they doing this? I mean, look, if that is, I get it. It's provoking a reaction. I suppose it is at the end of the day. But if you're 3-0 up or you're winning or whatever, and, you know, you're doing little tricky flick skills and stuff like that because you're ahead and you're showboating, go for it. I have no problem with that whatsoever. It will infuriate the crowd. It will enrage the other players. But you know what? Skill issue. It's a skill issue. You know, other teams are doing that because they can. And they're humiliating you because they're better than you. That's football. I'm sorry, but why are they regulating that? That is ridiculous. And like Depay said as well, you know, people should focus on other issues. There are bigger issues in football right now than players standing on the ball with 2 feet. Oh, the game has very much gone, and regulations like this are killing it. Absolutely killing it. But what do you think, guys? Should this be banned? Is this an illegal move? Is it disrespectful to the opposition? I would say it's disrespectful to the opposition, absolutely. But, hey, that's football. If you're good enough to and have the cojones to go and do that, do it. Absolutely, you know, on your head be it if other players want to react and tackle, but surely they should suffer the consequences. If it's a bad foul, they should get sent off. If it's violent conduct, on their head be it. I have no problem with that whatsoever. You let me know your thoughts in the comments below, guys. Has football become boring compared to what it used to be? I kind of think it has, to be honest, but for many other reasons. This is one of them, but for many other reasons as well. See, the thing about Arsenal is they always try and smash the ball in from a free kick. What a performance that was last night from the Gunners. An unbelievable display to win 3-0 against Real Madrid in the first leg of their UEFA Champions League quarter-finals. Now, I don't normally do 5 things reviews from games like this. I didn't think this was going to go this way, basically. I thought it was going to be a lot closer. I thought it was going to be a lot cagier, particularly after the first half, but since Arsenal did so well, since the Gunners are absolutely in dreamland after that, I've decided to do a 5-thing we learned review for this game. So, the first thing we learned is that Declan Rice can take free kicks. I mean, he takes corners, he has took free kicks before, but before this game, he had never scored a direct free kick in his entire professional career. Not for England, not for West Ham, not for Arsenal. And yet he scored 2 of them within 13 minutes of each other. Some unbelievable hits. I don't even know which one was better. I think probably the second one, but the first one, the bend, the whip, the whip. That wasn't whip, that was whip. He absolutely bent that around. That was starting about 3 or 4 yards wide of that right-hand post, and it came back in, it bent back in. People online saying that Courtois set his wall up incorrectly, that Courtois should have saved it. Absolutely not. Did you watch that game? There is no chance that he's saving either of them free kicks. They are well, the second one was a postage stamp. The first one was in the far corner. There is no way that Courtois is getting them. Absolutely no chance. Unbelievable free kicks, world class. And let us not downplay the talents of Mikel Merino. He is not a striker, but he is playing as a striker. He's a makeshift striker. Havertz, Jesus, all out for the season now. So obviously someone has to fill in. And Merino, to his credit, has been doing a pretty good job for a guy that's not a striker. And the skill that he had to score his goal as well. Don't underestimate that. Going away from goal, he just sort of flicks it, just sort of taps it. And it flies into the net. It's a fantastic finish. It looks easy, but it's anything but. Well done to Arsenal, honestly. I mean, like I said, they dominated this game. 11 shots on target, 12 shots in total. It could have been more. This is the thing as well. It could have easily been more. Arsenal had 2 goal line clearances. I think it was a Camavinga and then Bellingham with last-ditch interceptions to get the ball off the line. This wasn't Courtois saving it. And Courtois actually did make a few very good saves, in my opinion. He was on good form. He's been out for a little bit with an injury, but he was back with a vengeance tonight. And honestly, he stopped it from being a rugby score. This could have easily been 4 or 5-0 if it wasn't for Courtois, if they had someone else in net, or if there wasn't anybody covering on the line like that. This is not things that we associate with Real Madrid. And, you know, the fourth thing that we learned is that Real Madrid look off it. I mean, you know, they've not been on a good run in general. They lost to crisis club Valencia at the weekend, so, you know, they're not in the best of form in general, but normally they do turn up for the Champions League. You know, I always say this about Real Madrid, La Liga, Copa del Rey, they don't care about that. That's small fry. They don't care about the Spanish competitions, but, you know, when it comes to European competitions, they turn up. Even average Real Madrid sides have won the Champions League. By their standards, I'm talking about over a 38 league game season. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, it's an unbelievable thing to see Real Madrid just this poor. They were really, really poor. Jude Bellingham came out in the media last night as well, in the UK media, and just basically, we were off it. Arsenal were really good, but we were just not good enough. It was unacceptable. They were really poor. There were some chances for them, particularly in the first half, but they never looked like scoring. They never really looked like scoring, to be honest. Mbappe, Vinicius, again, they looked dangerous at times, but David Raya barely had a save to make of any note. I mean, there were a few saves that he made, but nothing really challenging. There were nothing that he was ever going to not save. So Real Madrid in attack not looking too great, and defensively, I mean, in a sense you might say they did well to keep it to 3. But yeah, the final thing that we learned is that things are very much like I said, they're not looking too great for Real Madrid. Eduardo Camavinga getting sent off right at the end of the game. He kicked the ball away. He was already on a yellow card, second yellow. It's absolutely stonewall. You're always going to get that. I don't even think he looked at Ancelotti when he was walking off the pitch, and Ancelotti would just shook his head, just like, what are you doing, mate? As bad as it was, as frustrated as you are, I mean, I don't know if he was going to be available for the next game anyway. He might have already reached the yellow card limit, but he definitely isn't going to be available now. He will pick up an automatic 1-match ban for that. So yeah, it's not over by any means. Real Madrid have pulled off some incredible comebacks in the past. Just ask Manchester City. We've seen teams like Barcelona come from 4-0 down in the first leg to come and win 6-1 in the second. So it is not over by any means, but I really did not see many signs of a Real Madrid revival, I'll be honest. But taking them on in the Santiago Bernabeu is a completely different prospect. Arsenal will have to be very, very solid defensively, which, to be fair, they were in this first game. They were looking, even Kieran Tierney, when he came on, he was looking pretty solid. They will be without Gabriel as well. He will be out of the rest of the season. He was watching on in the stands with his crutches and everything, so it's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy by any means, but Arsenal have put themselves absolutely in the pound seats, and if they get 1 goal next week in Spain, I think it'll probably be curtains, but we'll see how it goes, guys. We'll be here to cover it as always on thefootballchronicle.com. So you may have seen recently there's been 1 or 2 things happening in the Club World Cup that's taking place this summer in the United States. The tournament hasn't even kicked off, and there's already been a lot of controversy. Now, you would have heard about the player fatigue, the complaints about that, and absolutely rightfully so. That is a very controversial matter. But one of the 32 teams that has qualified, and you might be thinking, wait, 32 different teams? What's going on here? Well, instead of being held every year, this tournament is now going to be held once every 4 years and contested between 32 clubs instead of 7 or 8 or whatever it used to be. Basically in the same format as what the FIFA World Cup has been for quite some time. Will no longer be, of course, for the 2026 World Cup. But anyway, let's get into why this has actually happened, because the team from Mexico, Club Leon, has been kicked out. Now, the reason for this is basically because Club Leon and Pachuca, who are another Mexican team that have also qualified for the tournament, they unfortunately have the same owners, or at least in FIFA's eyes, they do breach the multi-club ownership rules, so they both can't compete in the same tournament. Weirdly, they can both compete in the CONCACAF Champions League, the North American Champions League. The multi-club ownership there is not an issue, but it is for FIFA. I don't know what the difference is really, but they've obviously got more stringent regulations when it comes to that for FIFA compared to CONCACAF. Now, obviously, we need to find a replacement, but who is this replacement going to be? Well, thankfully, I think common sense has actually prevailed here when it comes to this. Now, we can debate about whether Club Leon should have been kicked out or not. That is a separate matter. But thankfully, FIFA have actually seeming to do they seem to be doing the right thing here, really. The LAFC from the MLS, Major League Soccer, and Mexican Club America, they are both apparently going to compete in a playoff for that final spot. Now, you might be thinking again, why these 2 clubs? Well, LAFC from Los Angeles were the runner-up in the CONCACAF tournament, the Champions League tournament that Club Leon won. So it makes sense, in effect, if Leon are not eligible to participate in that, then it makes sense that it should go potentially to the people that they beat to try and get to the tournament. So that is the case for LA. There is also an argument to say that, well, it could be Club America actually, because although LAFC were runner-up in that Champions League tournament, Club America overall have been the most consistent side that has not already qualified for the North American spots for the Club World Cup. And this is a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal for all kind of clubs that are in this. I mean, they've got a prize pot of over $1 billion. If the winner will get something like $100 million, it's a lot of money, even to the Premier League sides, even to Real Madrid and the likes of that. That is no chump change. That is a lot of money, and that could really help you out in terms of spending. I mean, that is a top level player that is basically buying at that point. So, you know, that is a lot of money that they can't turn down. But even if you only make it to the groups, you know, you're getting around $10 million, which for an MLS or a Liga MX, the Mexican league side, you know, that is a lot of money. That is a significant amount of money that they are going to get for that. So to determine this, they're going to apparently have a playoff. When we actually get information about when this is going to happen, I will let you know, of course. But I honestly think it's fair, because basically all the winners of the Champions League, or whatever the top confederation tournament is between different countries, they all qualify automatically. But there are cases when actually other sides do qualify as well. I think like Red Bull Salzburg, if they qualified from Europe, they've not got close to winning the Champions League here in Europe, but they have been a consistent side. They are high in the coefficient for UEFA, so therefore they have earned a spot through that method. And that is partly because the likes of Real Madrid have won the Champions League more than once. So I do get it in this kind of circumstance that I think a playoff between these two sides is absolutely the correct decision. But yeah, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. Are you going to watch the Club World Cup when it's on this summer? Honestly, I probably will. Not just because it's my job here on the footballchronicle.com, but it is an international tournament effectively in the summer. Like, I wouldn't watch it over watching, I don't know, Wimbledon tennis or Formula 1 or, you know, the World Cup, the actual World Cup that is, or, you know, the Euros or Copa America or something like that. But given there's not really going to be much on, you know, I'm probably going to watch it. Whether it's the right thing to do or not, you know, in terms of the tournament actually happening or not, that is another debate for another day. But I want to hear what you have to say in the comments below. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you want to see more like this, guys. And yeah, have a fantastic day. See you very soon.